The exact moment you open your mouth to explain yourself, it is no longer communication, it is surrender. No one in a position of command feels the urge to clarify their existence. When you do, you are accepting that the other has the right to evaluate you, measure you, and decide whether you are valid. That invisible transfer of authority is the first bullet that passes through you without making a sound. In real war, the first to die is not the one who takes the shot, but the one who loses position. Explaining yourself is abandoning the high ground to step into the flat land where everyone has an opinion, where everyone argues, and where no one commands. The civilian explains himself because he fears being misunderstood. The strategist remains silent because he understands that the other's confusion is an asset. While you speak, trying to be understood, the other listens, calculating how to use you. Every extra word is intelligence. Every nuance is a coordinate. Every clarification is a map. And the one who hands out maps does not survive a siege. Power does not need defense because it is not on trial. And if you explain yourself, it's because you already accepted that it is. There is a silent law that governs both ancient armies and modern markets. Power does not answer questions. It makes them irrelevant. That is why it unsettles those who need verbal validation to feel secure. The dominant operator does not debate or react. He executes and leaves consequences that cancel doubt. The moment you respond, you are already moving to another man's rhythm. And the one who sets the rhythm never explains himself. Sun Tzu understood that victory begins before the clash. When you control the impulse to justify yourself, to explain is to react is to obey, and the one who obeys does not rule. In an era saturated with opinions, networks, and judgments, the common man defends himself with words, while the strategist advances with facts. That difference is not moral or emotional, it is tactical. The world is not convinced, it reorganizes itself around whoever maintains internal control, calculated silence, and constant pressure. When you explain yourself, you are asking permission to exist instead of occupying your position as an inevitable force that does not clarify its path, it simply cuts through it. Choosing to remain silent when everyone expects an answer is not passivity, it is the occupation of high ground. Well-placed silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. Pressure forces the enemy to move, and the one who moves first reveals himself. In real war, strategy is not shouted, and maneuvers are not explained. You let the other exhaust himself interpreting incomplete signals. That mental fatigue is deadlier than direct confrontation. The weak man fills silence because he mistakes it for rejection. The strategist uses it as a mirror in which the other projects fears, urgency, and mistakes. And without firing a single word, he gathers critical intelligence. Silence is not hiding. It is forcing the environment to adapt to your tempo. When you do not react, you break the expected sequence, and breaking the sequence is breaking the opponent's control. There is a reason true centers of power speak little and late. It is not mystery or mysticism. It is economy of influence. Every unnecessary word reduces your maneuvering room. Every additional explanation weakens your initial position. Sun Tzu did not seek to be understood by everyone. He sought to be feared for his unpredictability. In the modern world, that unpredictability becomes emotional dominance. Not answering messages immediately, not justifying financial decisions, not defending personal boundaries. Because the moment you explain your boundaries, you are already negotiating them. Strategic silence is not absence of action, it is compressed action. It allows external noise to self-destruct while you preserve clarity. And clarity is tactical advantage. When everyone reacts, you observe. When everyone speaks, you measure. When everyone explains, you advance. Slowly, the world reorganizes itself around the one who needs to prove nothing, because his mere presence alters the balance. and forces others to adjust without fully understanding why. The exact instant something provokes you and you do not respond is not soft self-control or cheap spirituality. It is tactical supremacy. Whoever governs his reaction governs the rhythm of war, and rhythm decides who falls first. In the modern battlefield of money, status, and attention, provocation is a standard maneuver, a cheap shot fired to force movement. The one who moves on impulse abandons cover, reveals intention, and becomes exposed. The undisciplined soldier reacts to relieve internal tension. The strategist endures pressure because he understands that every stimulus is a test and every unnecessary reaction is a confession. Not reacting is not endurance. It is choosing when to strike. The one who responds immediately fights on enemy ground. The one who waits forces the other to overextend, repeat, exaggerate. And in that exaggeration, the error appears that decides the contest. The modern world trains the weak to react fast and think slow. Notifications, opinions, artificial crises, manufactured urgency, everything designed to steal your center. A centered man is impossible to manipulate. Sun Tzu knew the most profitable battle is the one that exhausts the mind before touching the body. Today, that exhaustion happens when you allow every external word to dictate your internal state. The one who does not react accumulates silent power. While others discharge emotion, he conserves energy. Unspent energy becomes clarity. Clarity becomes cold decisions. Cold decisions build empires. Not reacting closes the door to emotional manipulation. It is refusing to dance to the rhythm of external chaos. It is remaining still while the environment collapses. That stillness generates respect, discomfort, and fear, because no one knows what the man who does not respond will do. And in any war, the unknown weighs more than any visible threat. The enemy fears what he cannot predict more than what he can confront. The first sign of real power is not threat, display, or explanation. It is prolonged silence under pressure. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategic containment, and the one who contains controls. In war, the soldier who speaks to calm himself reveals fear. The strategist stores words like ammunition. Every unnecessary phrase weakens position. Silence unsettles the impulsive, disarms the talkative, exposes the insecure. In that discomfort, the other betrays himself, filling space with excess, justifications, clumsy attacks, believing he dominates when in fact he is undressing. Silence is not passivity. It is a trap laid across the enemy's mental terrain, a pause that forces the other to move first, and the one who moves first always pays. In a modern world where everyone speaks and no one leads, silence becomes a dangerous anomaly. It gives no signals, asks no permission, seeks no approval, and that alone generates authority. The one who remains silent while others shout does not appear weak. He appears unreachable, and the unreachable gains value, status, and power. Sun Tzu understood that the most effective force is the one not shown until it is inevitable. Today, that force is built when you choose not to answer every provocation, not to clarify every misunderstanding, not to defend every rumor. Every defense is an implicit admission of vulnerability. Silence lets you observe patterns, measure intentions, detect cracks, while others exhaust themselves trying to dominate through noise. When you finally speak, you do not speak to convince, you speak to close, to order, to execute. Your voice carries accumulated weight. In every invisible hierarchy, the one who needs to speak the least commands most. The one who needs words needs support, and the one who needs support is no longer alone at the center of power. The impatient soldier confuses speed with advantage and movement with progress. In real war, time belongs to the one who can wait without breaking down. Waiting is not delay, it is drawing the bow. When you do not force resolution, you force the environment to reveal itself. In that revelation appear fatigue, fractures, miscalculations, errors no frontal attack could provoke. The one who dominates time does not chase opportunities, he lets them mature. He knows every system under pressure eventually collapses on its own, and intervening too early is gifting energy to the enemy. Prolonged calm is not inaction, it is silent accumulation. Every second of self-control is another soldier in your internal army. In the modern era, where everything demands immediate response and public reaction, the one who does not rush breaks the pattern and becomes unpredictable. Unpredictability reshapes hierarchies, markets, relationships, and power dynamics. Sun Tzu knew the most profitable victory is the one won without combat. Today, that victory occurs when you let the other exhaust himself trying to force your hand. Time exposes false intentions, unmasks weak alliances, reveals who depends on you and who only pretends strength. While others rush out of fear of losing, you consolidate position, reduce risk, and expand margin. Every decision made without urgency is a decision made from dominance. Time, well used, turns external pressure into internal advantage. When you finally move, it does not look like an attack. It looks inevitable. In prolonged war, the winner is not the strongest, but the one who does not tire first. And endurance comes from understanding that time, properly managed, eventually fights on your side. When the other raises his voice, speeds up his pace, or forces conflict, he is not attacking, he is leaking fear. The trained strategist does not defend against that leak. He analyzes it, because fear always speaks more clearly than reason. In every war, a frightened enemy commits two inevitable mistakes. He reveals his priorities and shortens his time horizon. Both are tactical maps for those who know how to observe without becoming involved. The emotional soldier interprets the other's fear as immediate danger, but the commander understands it as a sign of structural weakness, internal pressure, unresolved fracture. The more fear the other displays, the less real power he possesses, because solid power does not require urgency, drama, or spectacle. In the modern fields of success, finance, and status, fear disguises itself as haste, victimhood, moral attacks, and demands for immediate response. Whoever falls into that game places himself on the same level as the one who initiated it. Sun Tzu knew that the enemy's mind is the true battlefield, and today, that mind exposes itself when someone needs to provoke in order to feel secure. The cold strategist does not fight the other's fear. He lets it expand, because any emotion left uncontained becomes chaotic and eventually damages the one who generates it. While the other loses precision, you gain margin. While the other exaggerates, you reduce exposure. That silent asymmetry tilts the conflict without anyone being able to pinpoint the exact moment it happened. Fear, when observed without judgment or reaction, becomes advantage. It tells you when to wait, when to press, and when to withdraw without losing ground. In every confrontation, the one who can look at the other's fear without absorbing it has already won half the war, because he does not fight the emotion. He uses it as a compass for the next move. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop giving others leverage. Justification is a habit of the insecure. Discipline is the weapon of the powerful. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to train a mind that cannot be pressured, manipulated, or pulled off center, then continue with the mental discipline that makes you impossible to manipulate. Sun Tzu. Because real power begins where reactions end. The very first second you enter a territory, a room, a negotiation, a conversation, you are already fighting, whether anyone admits it or not. Real war begins before the first word and is decided in perception. The one who needs to impose himself through gestures, volume, or arguments arrives too late, because presence is not manufactured in the moment. It is trained in silence. The strategist does not push the environment. He tilts it. He does so through internal posture, his own rhythm, and a calm that does not seek approval. That calm is not neutrality. It is latent threat, because it signals that you do not depend on the immediate outcome. and whoever does not depend is automatically superior, because he can withdraw, wait, or execute without losing anything. In the modern world, where everyone competes for attention and validation, dominant presence emerges from controlled emptiness, not filling every space with words, not justifying every decision, not chasing every external signal. Sun Tzu knew that the general who appears ordinary but acts with precision unsettles the enemy. Today, that disruption occurs when your behavior does not follow the expected emotional script. You do not react when provoked. You do not accelerate when pressured. You do not explain yourself when observed. That deviation from the pattern generates an invisible tension that reorganizes hierarchies. Others begin to adjust to your rhythm, to measure their movements, to wonder what you know that they do not. Presence does not shout power, it suggests it. And what is suggested weighs more than what is demonstrated, because it forces the other to complete the meaning with his own fear. In every power structure, the one who does not need to convince commands, because the one who convinces is still negotiating his place. Real presence does not seek to dominate the other. It leaves him without footing, and when the enemy loses internal footing, the battle is already decided without a single attack. The moment your actions, silences, and decisions begin to align effortlessly is the moment you stop arguing your position and start imposing it. Because coherence is the quietest form of intimidation. The incoherent soldier speaks of control while reacting, speaks of vision while doubting, speaks of power while explaining himself. And that internal fracture is perceived before it is understood. The strategist, by contrast, eliminates internal contradictions first, because he knows no one can sustain external authority with a fragmented mind. Every time you do what you said you would do without announcing it, you reinforce your frame. That frame becomes territory others do not cross without permission. In the modern environment, coherence is rare because it demands sacrifice, consistency, and renunciation of immediate gratification. And for that very reason, it generates automatic respect. Sun Tzu understood that the most feared army is not the largest, but the most disciplined. Today, that discipline shows itself when your decisions do not change according to applause or pressure. Coherence removes the need to explain yourself, because your patterns speak for you, and sustained patterns become reputation. When others know what to expect from you, but not when or how you will execute, a strategic tension forms that places you above the noise. Real authority is not demanded or defended. It emanates from solid internal structure. That structure is built when you choose to act the same in public and in private, under pressure or in calm. In every prolonged war, the coherent army advances while the others disorganize, because coherence does not exhaust, it sustains.
The instant you doubt your decision, even if you never say it, the environment perceives it.
Indecision emits invisible signals that opportunists detect like blood in the water. In every war, the enemy does not attack when you are strong. He attacks when you hesitate, because hesitation fractures the front and opens flanks. The indecisive soldier looks for more information to calm fear. The strategist decides with what is sufficient and accepts the cost, because he knows the greatest risk is not being wrong, it is remaining suspended while waiting for external validation. In the modern world of power, indecision disguises itself as prudence, excessive analysis, endless consultation. That disguise comforts the weak while turning him into a dependent. Sun Tzu understood that decisional speed is not haste, it is internal hierarchical clarity. Today, that clarity is demonstrated when you choose and hold, even under pressure. The one who decides quickly does not always get it right, but he always leads, because he imposes direction, and direction reduces chaos. Manipulation only works when it finds someone willing to surrender his center in exchange for momentary security, and indecision is that silent surrender. When you decide and do not retreat because of external noise, the environment adjusts.
Others recalculate, and the game is redefined in your favor. In every power structure, dominance belongs not to the most intelligent or the strongest, but to the one who decides first and remains firm. Because firmness limits the options of others and turns the enemy's uncertainty into your advantage. The exact moment an emotion takes the wheel, the war has already begun, and you are already losing. No lucid commander allows internal climate to dictate external maneuver. In the modern world, that lack of control is not called weakness, it is called exploitable vulnerability. The strategist understands that emotion is not the enemy, but it is raw force that must be channeled, or it becomes internal sabotage. Every impulsive reaction leaves a trail. Every emotional outburst reveals patterns. Every pattern is usable intelligence for those observing you. Sun Tzu never spoke of feeling good. He spoke of holding formation under pressure. Today, pressure does not come from spears, but from emails, losses, criticism, silence, and provocations designed to knock you out of position. When you react, you confirm. When you justify yourself, you concede. When you lose composure, you expose yourself. Emotional control is not aesthetic coldness. It is prolonged tactical efficiency. It is the ability to receive adverse information without altering posture, without changing rhythm, without revealing fractures others can exploit. In the game of success and money, the one who does not control his internal state lives in response mode, always putting out fires, always late, always exhausted. The true operator preserves energy because he does not waste it on irrelevant micro-battles. Remaining calm does not make you passive, it makes you unpredictable, because no one can anticipate someone who does not react according to the expected emotional script. Emotional discipline is cumulative. Every time you do not react when you are supposed to, your advantage grows. The other disorganizes himself trying to provoke you, while you advance intact as he burns psychological ammunition. This is not self-control. It is structural dominance of the mental battlefield. The day you need to say you have power is the day you reveal that you do not yet occupy it. Real power is not announced. It seeps into the environment like atmospheric pressure, invisible but inevitable. In every human structure, the one who speaks more to impose loses ground to the one who speaks less and decides more. Because authority does not come from volume, but from the strategic position from which action is taken. Sun Tzu understood that the most dangerous general is not the one who threatens, but the one who does not explain. Because explanation calms the weak and alerts the enemy. In the modern world, justifying decisions is a sophisticated way of asking for permission, and every permission requested shrinks your maneuvering room. The operator does not persuade, he executes. He does not promise, he occupies. He does not argue, he moves. Authentic power is recognized when others adjust their behavior without you demanding it. When they measure their words, calculate their timing, and feel that something shifts when you enter the space. That is not achieved through performative charisma or speeches, but through silent consistency and the ability to hold decisions without trembling when friction appears. Anyone who needs public validation to exercise authority has already surrendered emotional command, because he depends on applause to advance. The modern strategist trains to act without witnesses, because he knows real power is consolidated in the absence of observers, not in their presence. When you truly occupy power, you do not chase control. You generate it by gravity. You do not raise your voice. You lower the temperature. You do not explain your movements. You make others deduce them too late. Power is not defended. It is maintained by advancing. Silence is not emptiness when used with intent. It is sustained pressure. Those who cannot endure silence reveal their psychological dependence on noise, on reaction, on an external mirror that tells them they exist. In war, the enemy who emits no signals forces the other to imagine scenarios, and misdirected imagination erodes more than any frontal attack. Sun Tzu knew that strategic silence compels the adversary to move first, and whoever moves first exposes himself, because anxiety breaks formation. In the modern environment, remaining silent when a response is expected is a maneuver, not an absence, because the one who does not respond controls the tempo, and controlling the tempo is controlling the battle. Disciplined silence is not social passivity. It is a refusal to give away emotional data, plans, intentions, or internal states. Every unnecessary word is a data leak. Every extra explanation, a crack, and the serious operator seals cracks before anyone can use them. While others speak to relieve tension, you maintain it until the other collapses and exposes himself. In business, in power, in life, the one who speaks too much becomes predictable, and predictability is the primary objective of any psychological attack. Silence breaks scripts, disarms provocations, and forces the other to recalculate without clear references. It is not about disappearing. It is about choosing when to exist. Well-used silence turns your presence into an event, and your absence into unease. When you do not fill the space with words, you fill it with expectation, and expectation is an advanced form of control. Nothing ends here, yet. This only consolidates ground. The operator does not close cycles while still advancing.